What is good? What is good? What is good? Sorry, my camera's a little bit farther than I wanted it to be, but that's good enough. You don't need to see my beautiful face that close up. It's all good. But I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm half awake. I'm like 25% of the way kidding on that. Maybe 25 to 30. But okay. We're gonna get into a script that I actually wanted to get to like 3 days now, but unfortunately I had to go over all of that economic bullcrap. The Federal Open Market Committee and then the stock market stuff, just because I turned on Bloomberg and I couldn't believe my eyes on that. So, but now we're gonna get back to, and then I had to discuss, you saw the last video if you watched that, had to discuss that because that was so super immediate. But we're finally getting to this script that I wanted to talk about for a good amount of time because it's what I'm learning right now. Aside from all of like the money moving and all that stuff, I'm also learning that too, you could say. But this is like what I'm learning about that I actually like really enjoy learning about. So here we go. WAMP stocks, MAMP stocks, LAMP stocks galore. So this is going to be a purely technology video for this one. And remember that I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. If you weren't able to tell up until now, that is my disposition in life. So we'll get back to this into some MGTOW economics and general society topics in other videos, definitely. I won't stop discussing that. But I do want to get to technology a little bit in these upcoming videos. We on that versatility here. We on that versatility. So have no fear. It's all about versatility. But here we go. Sorry if I look this way. I have, funny enough, Bloomberg on. I watch that channel way too much. But it's hard not, because they have some of the best analysis on topics, not even just the stock market, honestly, on like other news topics, because those analysts, even though I don't agree with them all the time, they have some good analysis and some good perspective. So, it is what it is. I watch that. Unfortunately, probably too much. But, okay, getting into this script. Web development, web development, web development, and more web development. I've been studying software technology for almost 2 years now. Ever since the fall of 2019. The first time I dropped out of farm school, fall of 2019. You guys know that story if you've been following the channel. I think it was actually in September when I started reading my first textbook on the basics of computer science. It was called Computer Science Illuminated. For any of you guys who want to check that out, you can definitely find it on the web. It'll definitely be there. Maybe an older version of it. Like I was reading an older version of the textbook, an older one that you would probably read if you like bought it, if you were like in an intro computer science class. You could even find the newest version on the internet, but I was reading like a little bit of an older version. It had the same chapters though, but it's just the content was definitely updated in the later versions. But it worked, man, like, because the basics are still the same. Basics are basics. So, speaking of the web, now we're learning about WAMP stacks and the elements comprising it. So let me back up. What is a WAMP stack? Well, it's a software development stack used to build shit on the internet. That is what I put in this script. Used to build shit on the internet. WAMP stack. WAMP stands for Windows, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. MAMP is the same thing except instead of Windows, it's Mac. And you use that on Mac computers. WAMP you obviously use on Windows devices. And then LAMP is for Linux operating system. So for people using Linux, they'll use LAMP. For people using Mac, they'll use MAMP. For people using Windows, they'll use WAMP. And Apache, MySQL, in my case MariaDB, and PHP. That's like the acronym WAMP, MAMP, and LAMP. There we go on that. So the Apache web server is a web server technology. You can install it on your computer to service requests for web pages from another device or from your own device. It services requests for web pages sent from a browser, essentially. MySQL or MariaDB, which is probably what I'll be using for my projects, and that is based off of MySQL. It's essentially like the free extension of MySQL, pretty much. MariaDB is kind of how I think about it. But that is a database software that you can use to store and organize a bunch of data. There are also tools you can use to retrieve the data from this software and present it to whoever is requesting that data on their web browser. So that's MySQL. PHP is considered a server-side scripting language, meaning that it interacts with servers mainly when deployed in real-world situations. PHP was created initially as just a set of tools by a guy named Rasmus Lerdorf in 1993, basically to maintain his own personal web page on the World Wide Web. And the World Wide Web wasn't even a year old at that time. I believe it was 92, 93 when the World Wide Web was created on the internet. And I was -3 years old. So think about that. Like, think about how these technologies are kind of aging. Like, if you're around my age, they're like aging with you. Like, they're aging with us in terms of the internet. Like, the internet's 4 years old or 3 or 4 years older than me, depending on what date you put it at the start. So, like, talk about generational technologies there. The original name for PHP was even personal homepage PHP. Like, he called it personal homepage. And that was the name he gave this set of tools, and it kept that name until 1997, when the tool set was extended by more people, and the name was changed to, or I guess the name was changed to Hypertext Preprocessor, but it still had the acronym PHP, which it still does today. But now it stands for Hypertext Preprocessor, which makes sense when you think about what it does and how it works, because what you embed it in HTML pages, and basically the web server just reads that and executes the commands in the PHP before it sends the web page to the web browser. And then the web browser is the technology that can read the HTML, which is hypertext markup language. So that's why it's called Hypertext Preprocessor, because it's processed before the hypertext, before the web browser reads the hypertext markup language. Yeah, sorry, like that's super getting into it, but I found that like pretty dang cool, so should have had to say it. I found that cool. So it still has the acronym PHP. So all of these technologies can come together to build what is referred to by many, including by the book I'm reading, as a database-driven website, which has a ton of data collected and organized in a database, and the Apache web server that can service web requests. The PHP is embedded within the Apache web server. Like, usually you can embed it in different ways, but it's the most efficient way, at least according to this book, is to put it in a module in the in the Apache web server. So you install it as a module in the Apache web server, and that's like the quickest. That will make your stuff basically work the quickest, according to this book. I've yet to like fumble around with different ways of doing it, so maybe when I fumble around with different ways of doing it later, I can like compare them for you. But yeah, like the book said that is the most efficient way of doing it, so I kind of went that way. So the PHP, which is embedded in the Apache web server, is used to write programs that can call upon the database. and ask for some of the data that's stored in there. It can collect that data, work with the Apache web server to present that data in web browser readable format, which I kind of explained earlier. Like, you embed it within the HTML. Web server reads that before sending the web page to the browser. It fulfills all of those commands, and then it puts it into hypertext. So then by the time, and then it sends it to the browser. So like by the time the browser gets the web page, all of it is basically hypertext. And what used to be the PHP is now just like hypertext. Like, it's fulfilled commands by the web server. It just looks like hypertext when the web browser gets it. And the web browser just does its thing, like with all the client-side languages on it. It just reads what used to be the PHP as like the converted hypertext. So that's what I mean by web browser readable format. And then a user the user that sent the initial web request can get their information presented to them on their own browser, because now it's all like in hypertext, markup language, it's in CSS, in JavaScript, all that stuff that the web browser can read. So that is the general gist of one of the ways in which all these technologies can come together. Each of these technologies can also be used in many different scenarios than a database-driven website as well. Hopefully, they can also be applied in new ways as well. That is something I'll be trying to figure out, and we'll see what happens with more years of learning and experimenting. Remember, I'm only 2 years into this software thing, and it's pretty interesting. And I'm also only 1 year into this YouTube channel. October 1st will actually make 1 year on the dot. So, like, bear with me on, like, some of the, like, I might be trying to experiment with it. I might be making some projects. And then that, hopefully, I can continue with the company. But, like, there's, like, if you watch my other video I dropped today, it is what it is on that. We'll see what happens there. But I'll definitely just be doing random shit, if not as part of that entity. Like, maybe just on my own. I might try to host some web pages and do some cool stuff as I'm learning. And then, maybe later down the line, like I said, we're only 1 year into it in terms of the YouTube. So there's still, sky's the limit still. So yeah, I mean, as long as like we just keep learning, right? So yeah, I guess one thing I wanted to say, actually, I have a little bit of script left, but like before I get to that, these technologies can be used for other things. Like, PHP is a server-side language. There's servers everywhere. Like, a lot of things can be servers, especially with like the whole Internet of Things. Like, Internet of Things is like half doomsday to me, honestly. That stuff is like half doomsday. But, it is technology and Internet of Things. I mean, there's a lot of servers that are going to be, like, if these things are going to be accessing the internet. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done. Like, PHP is a server-side language. Or, like, any machine that's a server. Like, you can, like, use PHP with that. And then you can, like, use that to connect to the internet. Like, so I just want to know, like, different stuff I can be using, like, these technologies for. That's, like, what I'm interested in here. But, okay. Yeah, now getting back to and then also, like, a database, just to store data. You can, like, just store any type of data in a database. So that's pretty interesting to me. Definitely very interesting. Okay, let's just finish this up now. So bear with me, you guys. I'm telling you, this journey is about to be nuts. And as I tell you guys occasionally, at some point, I'll be making you guys money. See, I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but at some point I hope to be making you guys money, as well as myself money. So, yeah, stay tuned. We're on our way up out here. There's obviously going to be bumps in the road, as you guys have witnessed if you've been following this channel. Even if you've just been watching it today, you've been aware that there's going to be bumps in the road. but it is all good. Just like stay healthy, stay up. Same, I'm telling you that. I tell that to myself too. And yeah, that's basically all I got for y'all. Last video of today. Maybe see you tomorrow, maybe see you the next day. But peace out. I'll catch you guys later. Keep it going.